The ultimatum, the Valoran Enforcer cruiser debt collector's Pride hung in orbit over Terra 9 like a vulture. Its hull was pristine white, the color of institutional cruelty, of paperwork that destroyed lives. Captain Threshik reviewed the colony's manifest with satisfaction. 14,000 humans, young population, minimal defenses. They'd be worth 40 years of labor, maybe more. The hegemony's accountants would be pleased, Captain. His sensor officer chittered. Single contact emerging from FTL, human design. Threshik's mandibles clicked in amusement. One ship? Route it to my display. The vessel was massive, 2 kilometers of gunmetal gray, studded with weapons that seemed excessive even by human standards. Its name was embossed along the hull in letters 10 meters high. UNS Adamantine Fury. They've sent a dreadnought to negotiate. Threshik laughed. How charmingly desperate. The communication came in clear, unencrypted. A human female, her face carved from stone and ice. Admiral's insignia, eyes that had seen too much and forgiven nothing. I am Admiral Kokin of the United Nations of Sol. You are in violation of the Covenant of Sovereign Worlds. You have 6 hours to release every human colonist on Terra 9 and withdraw from this system. Threshik's crew erupted in chittering laughter. Admiral, he said, composing himself, your species signed debt agreements. Legal documents. The hegemony does not recognize your covenant. These colonists belong to us now. Their children will belong to us. Perhaps their children's children will earn freedom if they work hard. Kochan's expression didn't change. 6 hours, or what? You'll attack a hegemony vessel? Start a war your primitive species cannot win? Threshik leaned forward. We have 300 warships within a week's travel. You have one. 5 hours and 59 minutes, Kochan said, and cut the transmission. In the cargo holds of the debt collector's Pride, 14,000 colonists huddled in processing pens. They'd been farmers, teachers, engineers. Now they were inventory. Sarah Chen pressed her daughter close, trying to muffle the child's crying. Around them, Valoran guards with shock staves kept watch, their translator devices broadcasting mockery in a dozen human languages. Mommy, little Emma whispered, are the ships coming? Like in the stories? Sarah wanted to say yes, wanted to believe Earth would send fleets, armies, salvation, but Earth was so far away and the galaxy was so very large. Hush, baby. Be brave. Above them, 6 decks up, Threshik watched his chronometer with amusement. The human dreadnought hadn't moved, hadn't powered weapons, hadn't done anything except drift in space like a tombstone. 4 hours remaining, Captain, his officer reported. Wake me at 1 hour, Threshik said. I want to see the human admiral's face when she realizes she's lost. The hours crawled past. At 3 hours, Threshik noticed the Adamantine Fury had rotated 30 degrees. Odd, but meaningless. At 2 hours, his long-range sensors detected the dreadnought charging its main reactor to combat levels. A bluff, surely. At 1 hour, Threshik returned to his command station. At 30 minutes, he started to feel uneasy. At 10 minutes, the Adamantine Fury broadcast on all frequencies. Final warning. Evacuate the surface. Release all captives. You have 10 minutes. Threshik's mandibles twitched. Scan the system. Where are their reinforcements? None detected, Captain. The human ship is alone. Then they're insane. The chronometer hit 0. Kochan's face appeared on every screen. Her voice was calm. Final. You were warned. The Adamantine Fury fired, but it didn't fire on the Valoran. Ship, the dreadnought's main weapons, all of them fired on Terra 9. Itself, not at the surface. Deeper. The planet killer array. Humanity's most classified weapon. Lanced through crust, mantle, and into the core. Seismic charges followed, each one a miniature star, detonating in a precise sequence calculated by computers that had run this simulation 1,000 times. Terra 9 shuddered. Then it began to crack. Threshik watched in horror as fissures of magma spread across the colony world like veins of fire. The atmosphere ignited. Oceans boiled into steam. The planet's rotation stuttered, then accelerated as internal pressures sought release. What have you done? He screamed at the human admiral. Kochan's face was a mask of terrible sorrow. You took our children, she said quietly. We took the world that would have enslaved them. Let the galaxy see what happens when humanity has nothing left to lose. Terra 9 exploded. Not a clean detonation, a slow, agonizing death. Continents broke apart. The core became visible through widening cracks. Debris the size of cities tumbled into space, trailing fire. The debt collector's pride was caught in the expanding cloud of superheated rock and gas. Its shields failed in seconds. Its hull melted like wax. Threshik's last thought was simple. They destroyed their own colony. In the moments before the planet died, the adamantine fury had done one more thing. It had transmitted a single message to every Valoran relay within 100 light-years. This is humanity's line. Cross it and we will burn the ground beneath your feet. We will not be slaves. We will not negotiate. We will not surrender. We will only make you regret. And as the ashes of Terra 9 spread through the system like a funeral shroud, 5 more human dreadnoughts dropped out of FTL, Eurus's relentless sorrow, Eurus's vindication, Eurus's cold equations, Eurus's last resort, Eurus's orphans fury 6 ships, each one carrying a planet-killer array. Each one crewed by humans who had lost everything and decided the galaxy would remember why. Admiral Kochan stood on her bridge, surrounded by officers whose faces mirrored her own terrible resolve. "Set course for Valoran Prime," she said. "Ma'am," her XO said quietly. "The colonists. They were on the planet when—" "I know," Kochan said, and for the first time her voice cracked. "I know, they died free. That's more than the Valorans would have given them." On the main screen, Terra 9's debris field glowed like a dying ember. The adamantine fury turned toward the core worlds of the hegemony. Behind it, 5 more dreadnoughts fell into formation. The galaxy was about to learn a lesson written in fire. The message: the Valoran hegemony. Council convened an emergency session within 8 hours of Terra 9's destruction. The council chamber was a monument to bureaucratic power. Vaulted ceilings inscribed with 10,000 years of contract law, walls lined with the conquered flags of 47 species. The 12 council members sat in elevated thrones, looking down on the galaxy they had purchased. Clause by clause, High Arbiter Vekshar called the session to order with 3 strikes of his judgment staff. "We have received a declaration of war from a species that signed non-aggression treaties. From a species that begged us for trade rights only 30 cycles ago." His voice dripped with contempt. "Show them the recording." The chamber darkened. Admiral Kochan's face appeared 3 meters high, her eyes burning with cold fire. But it wasn't the message from Terra 9. This was new. "People of the Valoran hegemony," Kochan began. "You don't know me. You don't know my species. You think you do. You've read our economic reports, analyzed our military capabilities, calculated our weaknesses. You believe we are young, desperate, afraid." She leaned forward. "You're wrong." Behind her, the bridge of the adamantine fury was visible. Officers at their stations, weapons displays showing full readiness, and on the main viewport, the burning remains of Terra 9. You call it debt servitude. You claim it's legal. You hide behind contracts written in languages my people don't speak, enforced by guns we cannot match. You tell yourselves this is civilization. This is order. Her voice dropped to a whisper that somehow carried more menace than a shout. "We call it slavery. And humanity has one absolute rule about slavery." The image shifted. Archive footage began to play, ancient, grainy, from Earth's own blood-soaked history. Burning plantations, broken chains, faces filled with righteous fury. "We burned our own country to end it," Kochan said. "We tore ourselves apart. Brother fought brother. Cities became graveyards. And when it was done, when the ashes settled, we looked at the cost and said, worth it. More images. Different eras. Different wars. Always the same theme. Humanity fighting itself, fighting others, burning everything to preserve a single principle. You took 14,000 of our children. You told us they would spend their lives in chains. That their children would inherit debt. That freedom was something you could sell back to us piece by piece, year by year." Kochan's face filled the screen again. "We gave you 6 hours to make this right." You laughed. "So we showed you what humanity does when negotiation fails." The image of Terra 9's death replayed. The planet cracking. The core exposed. The expanding debris field. You're thinking they destroyed their own colony. They killed their own people. They're insane. A terrible smile crossed Kochan's face. "No, we're free. And we understand something you've forgotten after 10,000 years of buying and selling lives. Some things are worth more than survival. Some lines cannot be crossed without consequence. The image pulled back showing all 6 dreadnoughts in formation. This is the Eurus Protocol, named for the Greek god of the east wind, the unlucky wind, the wind that brings nothing good. We are 6 ships. Each one carries a planet killer array. Each one is crewed by volunteers who have lost family. To your debt collectors, Cochin's eyes seem to look directly at every council member. We are coming to Valoran Prime. We will arrive in 47 hours. When we do, you will have 6 hours, the same time we gave your captain at Terra 9, to meet our demands. A list appeared on screen. Release all human captives in hegemony space. No exceptions. No delays. Dissolve all debt contracts with human colonies. Full amnesty. Full sovereignty. Pay reparations of 1 trillion. Hegemony credits to be distributed among freed captives. Surrender the 12 members of the EU, Valoran Council for trial under the Covenant of Sovereign Worlds. The council chamber erupted in outraged chittering and clicking. Silence, Vekshar commanded. He turned to his military advisor. Can 6 ships threaten our homeworld? Admiral Kreshtok, veteran of a dozen conquest campaigns, stepped forward. His carapace bore the scars of 100 battles. High Arbiter, I reviewed the Terra 9 footage. His voice was shaken. The precision of those strikes, they cracked a planet's core in under 30 seconds. If they do that to Valoran Prime, we have orbital defense platforms, 300 ships in the home fleet, which means nothing if they crack the planet beneath them. Kreshtok's mandibles trembled. High Arbiter, they're not trying to invade. They're not trying to conquer. They're offering us the same choice they made. Surrender what matters most or watch it burn. Vekshar was silent for a long moment. They're bluffing. They must be. No species would. They already did, Kreshtok interrupted, a breach of protocol that would normally mean execution. At Terra 9, they killed their own people to make a point. What do you think they'll do to us? Koshin's message continued. You're calculating odds right now, wondering if we'll really do it. Wondering if you can evacuate Valoran Prime in time. Wondering if your fleets can stop us. She leaned back in her chair. Let me save you the trouble. Yes, we'll really do it. No, you can't evacuate 8 billion Valorans in 47 hours. And no, your fleets can't stop us, because we don't care if we survive. The words hung in the air like a death sentence. You built an empire on debt, on obligation, on making other species afraid of what they'd lose if they resisted. But we're humans. We've spent 5,000 years proving we'll burn the world rather than live in chains. The transmission began to end, but Kochin had one final message. 47 hours. Use them wisely, debate, calculate, run your simulations, and then ask yourselves the only question that matters. Her eyes were hollow, ancient, tired beyond measure. How much is your homeworld worth? The transmission ended. The council chamber remained silent for 30 full seconds. Finally, Councillor Mresha, eldest of the 12, spoke. We should negotiate. Negotiate? Vekshar slammed his staff. They destroyed one of our acquisitions. If we yield to these terrorists, every species we've uplifted will rebel. Uplifted, Mresha said softly. Is that what we call it now? You forget yourself, Counselor. No, I remember. I remember when we were 6 billion on a single world. When we signed our first debt contract with the Kreshvar Consortium. When we spent 3 generations in servitude before buying our freedom. The old Valoran's voice was bitter. We became what we hated. And now someone is showing us what we look like from the other side. It doesn't matter, Admiral Kreshtok said. High Arbiter, with respect, we have 47 hours to evacuate 8 billion citizens or meet their demands. There is no third option. They've made certain of that. Vekshar looked at the frozen image of Admiral Kochin on the screen, at those empty, determined eyes. Send a message to all hegemony fleets. Full mobilization, everything we have to Valoran Prime. And if they arrive before our reinforcements, Mresha asked, then we'll see if they're truly willing to die for their principles. But even as he said it, Vekshar remembered the footage of Terra 9, the planet cracking. The colonists who must have known in their final moments that their own people had chosen death over slavery. He'd called them primitive. Now, he wondered if maybe humanity had evolved past something the Valorans had lost long ago, the willingness to pay any price for what they believed. In the darkness of space, 47 hours from Valoran Prime, 6 human dreadnoughts maintained formation. Now he wondered if maybe humanity had evolved past something the Valorans had lost long ago, the willingness to pay any price for what they believed. In the darkness of space, 47 hours from Valoran Prime, 6 human dreadnoughts maintained formation. On the bridge of the Adamantine Fury, Admiral Koken stared at the chronometer counting down. "Ma'am," her XO said quietly, "what if they call our bluff?" Koken turned to face him. Her voice was steady, final. "Then we weren't bluffing.